At Christmas dinner, my daughter-in-law laughed at the burns on my hands, saying they matched the roast. My son smirked. Then her father arrived, shaking off the snow. When I lifted my sleeves, his wine glass slipped. He reached out but didn't touch her. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. It can't be, he muttered. I should have known it would end like this. Not the wine glass, not the strange recognition in Philip Carter's eyes, but the laughter. Madison's laughter had been building for months, sharp and practiced, the kind that cuts clean through to bone. The turkey sat in the center of my dining table, blackened on one side where I'd left it in too long. 4 hours too long, to be exact. 4 hours I'd spent frantically rearranging the centerpiece because Madison texted at 2 p.m. saying the pine cones looked cheap and didn't photograph well. 4 hours I'd spent refolding napkins into swans instead of rectangles because she'd sent me a YouTube video with the message, "Even you can do this, Bea." My hands ached. They always ached now, especially in the cold. The scars ran from my knuckles up past my wrists, puckered and shiny, the kind of scars that made children stare and adults look away. 6 months ago, I'd gotten them pulling my granddaughter's toys from a fire in the basement. The old space heater had sparked, caught a cardboard box, and within minutes half the storage area was burning. I didn't think. I just ran down and started grabbing things. Her baby blanket, the wooden blocks Owen had played with as a boy, the stuffed rabbit she carried everywhere. Madison never said thank you. Not once. When I came up, arms full of singed toys and hands screaming in pain, she'd looked at me and said, "You should have just let them burn. Insurance would have covered new ones." Owen had driven me to the ER. We didn't speak the entire way. At the time, I told myself he was worried, that his silence was concern. Now I know it was something else. Guilt, maybe, or calculation. I'd spent 3 weeks with bandages wrapped so thick I couldn't hold a coffee cup. Madison visited twice. Both times, she looked at her phone more than she looked at me. But tonight was Christmas. Tonight, I'd told myself, would be different. I'd made Owen's favorite dessert, the peppermint bark his father used to make before the stroke took him 3 years ago. I'd set the table with the good china, the set Harold and I got for our wedding, the one I only used for special occasions. I'd even put on the red sweater Owen gave me last year, even though the sleeves were too short and the color washed me out. Madison arrived first, stepping into my house like she was touring a museum exhibit of bad taste. She wore all white, a silk blouse and tailored pants that probably cost more than my monthly pension. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor I'd scrubbed that morning on my knees because the mop left streaks. "Bea," she said. Not Beatrice. Never Beatrice. Just Bea, like I was a neighbor or a casual acquaintance. "It smells smoky in here." "I had a little trouble with the turkey," I said, forcing a smile. "But it'll still taste fine." She walked past me into the dining room, and I watched her eyes scan everything. The crooked candlesticks, the slightly wilted roses I'd bought on sale at the grocery store, the napkin swans that looked more like lumpy ducks. Owen came in behind her, carrying a bottle of wine that I knew cost more than my electric bill. He kissed my cheek, quick and obligatory, the way you'd kiss an aunt you barely knew. "Merry Christmas, Mom," he said. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." My sister Vanessa arrived next, her coat dusted with snow, her smile tight. Vanessa had always been the pretty one, the successful one, the one our parents bragged about at church. She'd married a dentist, lived in a house with a 3-car garage, spent every Thanksgiving in Cabo. She looked at my dining room the same way Madison did, with that barely concealed disappointment that said, "Is this really the best you could do?" "Bea, honey," she said, hugging me loosely, careful not to wrinkle her cashmere sweater. "You didn't have to go to all this trouble." Translation: you shouldn't have bothered. Linda Morrison, Owen's former mother-in-law, came in last before Philip. She'd stayed close even after Owen remarried, kept calling herself Grandma Linda to my granddaughter Emma. She kissed both my cheeks, smelling of expensive perfume and wine. "Beatrice, dear, you look tired," she said, patting my arm. "Are you sleeping enough?" It was concern wrapped in condescension, the tone people use when they think you're fragile, when they think you're old. We sat. I carved the turkey with shaking hands, the knife scraping against bone. The burns made my grip weak. made every motion deliberate and slow. I could feel them watching, could feel Madison's eyes on my hands, on the scars that caught the candlelight. I served Owen first, then Madison, then Vanessa, then Linda. I took the smallest portion for myself, the piece from the burned side, because that's what you do, that's what mothers do. Madison picked at her plate, moving food around with her fork. She hadn't taken a single bite. "So, Bea," she said, her voice light and cruel, "how'd you manage to burn a turkey on Christmas? I mean, you've been cooking these for what, 40 years? Vanessa laughed. A short, sharp sound. Madison, be nice, but she was smiling. Owen said nothing. He cut his turkey into precise, small pieces and chewed slowly, eyes on his plate. "I got distracted," I said quietly. "With the centerpiece. You said, 'Oh, that.'" Madison waved her hand dismissively. "I was joking about the pine cones. You know I was joking, right?" She wasn't joking. We both knew it. But what could I say? What was I supposed to do? Make a scene? Ruin Christmas? Anyway, Madison continued, holding up her hands, wiggling her fingers with their perfect manicured nails. "At least my hands still work. No offense, Bea, but those scars are intense. You should really see a dermatologist. They have procedures now." The table went silent. I looked down at my hands, at the shiny, twisted skin, at the evidence of what I'd done for her daughter, for Emma. For a child, she barely seemed to notice half the time. "They match the roast," Madison said, and she laughed. Not a small laugh. A loud one. The kind that filled the room. Owen smiled. Not a laugh, just a smile. Small and quick, but I saw it. My son smiled at his wife's cruelty. Vanessa looked down at her plate. Linda took a long drink of wine. I sat there, hands in my lap now, hidden under the table, and I felt something crack inside me. Not break? Not yet, just crack. A hairline fracture in something I'd thought was solid. The doorbell rang. "That'll be Dad," Madison said, standing. "He got stuck in traffic. I'll get it." She walked to the door, heels clicking, and I heard her voice, bright and false. "Daddy! Merry Christmas!" Philip Carter stepped inside, a tall man in his 60s with gray hair and kind eyes that looked tired. He stomped snow off his boots, unwrapped his scarf, and carried a bottle of wine into the dining room. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Roads are hell tonight. Merry Christmas, everyone." He set the wine on the table, and that's when he looked at me. Really looked at me. His eyes moved from my face down to my hands, which I'd brought back up to reach for my water glass. The scars caught the light. Philip went pale. The wine glass in his hand slipped, just an inch, and red wine sloshed over the rim onto the white tablecloth. He caught it before it fell, but his hand was shaking. He stared at my hands. Then at Madison, then back at my hands. "It can't be," he whispered. The room froze. Madison frowned. "Dad, what's wrong?" But Philip didn't answer. He set the glass down carefully, reached toward Madison, but stopped before touching her, his hand hovering in the air like he'd been burned himself. "Where did you get those scars?" he asked me, his voice hoarse. There was a fire," I said slowly, "in my basement. 6 months ago, I pulled my granddaughter's things out before they burned." Philip closed his eyes, his jaw clenched. When he opened them again, there were tears. "Emma," he said, "you saved Emma's things." "Yes." He turned to Madison, and his face was no longer kind. It was hard, cold. "We need to talk," he said to her. "Now, outside." "Dad, what now, Madison?" She stood, confused and angry, and followed him out onto the porch. Through the window, I could see them in the dim glow of the porch light. Philip's mouth was moving fast, his hands gesturing. Madison shook her head, arguing back. Then Philip pointed at me, at my hands, and said something that made Madison's face go white. Inside, the silence was unbearable. Owen stared at his plate. Vanessa sipped her wine. Linda dabbed at the spilled wine with her napkin, murmuring something about club soda. 5 minutes later, Madison came back inside. Her face was blotchy, her mascara smudged. Philip didn't follow her. I heard his car start, heard him drive away without coming back in. Madison sat down, picked up her fork, and stabbed at her turkey with enough force to scrape the plate. "Merry Christmas," she said to no one. I looked at my hands, at the scars that had just changed everything, even though I didn't yet understand how. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls, 12 from Madison, 3 from Owen, 2 from Vanessa. I lay in bed staring at my phone screen, watching it light up again with Owen's name. And I didn't move. Outside, snow was still falling, soft and silent, covering the world in white like nothing had happened. Like Christmas dinner hadn't ended with Madison storming out at 9:30, dragging Owen behind her, leaving half-eaten plates and my good china smeared with gravy. I let the phone ring. By 10 a.m., I was sitting at my kitchen table with coffee that had gone cold, staring at the stack of mail I'd been ignoring for weeks. Bills, mostly. The mortgage payment, due in 6 days. The notice from the cardiologist's office reminding me about my pre-surgical consultation, 6 weeks away. The angioplasty was scheduled for February 15th. Dr. Reyes had been very clear. The blockage was serious, and waiting wasn't an option. I'd been planning to ask Owen to drive me to the hospital. I'd been planning to ask him to stay with me for a few days after, just until I could manage stairs again. Now I wasn't sure I could ask him for anything. The doorbell rang at 10:45. I didn't answer. I knew who it was. I could hear Madison's voice through the door, sharp and insistent. "B, I know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway. Open the door." I sat very still, the way a rabbit does when it hears a fox. "B, we need to talk." What my dad said last night, he was confused. He's been under a lot of stress. You know how old people get. Old people. Philip was 61. I was 67. "Please, B. I'm standing out here in the snow. It's freezing." Good, I thought, and I hated myself a little for thinking it. She knocked again, harder this time, and then I heard her footsteps crunching back down the driveway. A car door slammed. She was gone. I exhaled. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I went up to the attic. Harold's office was still there, untouched, exactly as he'd left it the morning of his stroke. His desk calendar was still open to April 2021. His reading glasses sat folded on top of a stack of investment statements. I'd been too heartbroken to go through it after he died, and Owen had offered once, but I'd said no. I'd told him I'd do it myself when I was ready. I still wasn't ready, but I needed to see something. I found it in the third drawer down, underneath a folder of tax returns. Harold's journal. He'd kept one for 40 years. Neat handwriting in black ink. Entries every Sunday night before bed. I flipped to the last year, my hands shaking. March 14th, 2021. B gave Owen another $2,000 today. He called crying about credit card debt. She didn't tell me, but I saw the withdrawal. She's given him over $18,000 in 2 years. He never pays her back. He doesn't even say thank you anymore. June 3rd, 2021. Owen's fiancé came for dinner. Madison. She barely spoke to B. Checked her phone the whole time. B made her favorite dessert anyway. B always tries too hard. I don't know how to tell her she's buying love that should be free. September 20th, 2021. B hurt her back lifting boxes for Owen's move. He didn't offer to help. Madison said they were too busy. B didn't complain, but I saw her wince every time she stood up. Nobody sees how much she sacrifices. Nobody except me. I closed the journal and pressed it against my chest, crying quietly in Harold's chair, in Harold's dust, in Harold's silence. He'd seen it. He'd seen everything I'd been too afraid to name. That evening, Owen finally came by. He let himself in with his key, the one I'd given him when he turned 16, the one I'd never asked him to return. "Mom?" he called from the foyer. I was sitting in the living room, Harold's journal on my lap. I didn't answer right away. Let him find me. He came in, still wearing his coat, snowflakes melting in his hair. He looked tired. Good. "Mom, we need to talk." "Sit down, Owen." He sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped between his knees like a boy called to the principal's office. "Madison's really upset," he started. "She thinks you're mad at her." "I wonder why." "Mom, she was joking. About the burns. She has a weird sense of humor, you know that. She didn't mean..." She meant it. I said quietly. She meant every word. Owen's jaw tightened. Look, I came here to apologize on her behalf, okay? She shouldn't have said that, but you're being really dramatic about this. It's been less than 24 hours. Dramatic. Yeah, dramatic. You're not answering calls. You're hiding in your house. Madison feels terrible. I opened Harold's journal and held it out to him. Read the entry from September 20th, 2021. What? Read it. He took the journal reluctantly, squinting at Harold's handwriting. I watched his face as he read, watched the color drain from his cheeks. Dad wrote this? Every Sunday for 40 years. Owen set the journal down on the coffee table like it was something dangerous. Mom, I didn't know you hurt your back. You never said. I shouldn't have to say. You should have noticed. You should have helped. I was busy with the move. You're always busy, Owen. You've been busy for 3 years. Too busy to visit your father in the hospital before he died. Too busy to help me move his things. Too busy to notice I've given you almost $23,000 since you got engaged. His face went red. You offered that money. You never refused it. Because I needed it. Do you know how expensive it is to live now? Madison and I are drowning in debt. Her student loans, the wedding, the rent. Then get a second job. Cut expenses. Do what everyone else does. Don't take money from your widowed mother and then laugh when she burns her hands saving your daughter. Owen stood up. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up too, my legs shaking but my voice steady. You want to talk about fair? I'll tell you what's not fair, Owen. What's not fair is that I spent 6 months planning your wedding, and Madison didn't invite me. What's not fair is that I bought Emma's birthday presents for 3 years, and Madison told her they were from Mommy and Daddy. What's not fair is that I almost died in a basement fire, and your wife made a joke about it at Christmas dinner. She didn't know how bad the fire was. Then maybe she should have asked. Maybe, Owen, just maybe, someone in this family should have checked on me after I came home from the ER with 3rd-degree burns on both hands. The room went silent except for my ragged breathing. Owen's phone buzzed. He looked at it, looked at me, looked at the phone again. I have to go, he said. Madison's waiting. Of course she is. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. For a second, I thought he might apologize, might say something real. Instead, he said, "You need to let this go, Mom. You're going to ruin your relationship with your only grandchild over a stupid comment." Then he was gone. I stood there in my living room, in the house Harold and I had bought in 1981, the house where Owen took his first steps and lost his first tooth and brought home his first girlfriend. I stood there and felt the crack inside me widen. 2 days later, I found the emails. I wasn't snooping. Not exactly. Owen had left his laptop on my kitchen table 3 weeks ago when he'd come to borrow my turkey roaster. He'd said he'd pick it up later. He never did. It had been sitting there, closed, unused, a silent reminder of how little he thought about me. The battery was dead. I plugged it into charge, intending to text him to come get it. But when the screen lit up, his email was open. He hadn't logged out. I should have closed it. I know I should have. But I saw my name. The subject line read, Operation Clean Slate, Mom's House. I clicked. The email chain went back 4 months. Madison, Owen, and someone named J. Thompson, a realtor. From Madison Carter to Owen Morrison. Subject, RE, Operation Clean Slate, Mom's House. October 8th, 2024, Jason got the appraisal back. $340K is way more than I expected for that neighborhood. If we can get B to sign over power of attorney, we can list it by spring. She's getting too old to manage that house anyway. She'll be better off in assisted living. From Owen Morrison to Madison Carter, October 15th, 2024. Madison's right. Mom's too attached to this place. Once she's out, we're free. I'm tired of pretending I care about her holiday dinners and her guilt trips. The inheritance won't be enough to cover our debts, but the house sale would. From J. Thompson to Owen Morrison, Madison Carter, October 22nd, 2024. Sounds good. Let me know when you have POA. I'll prep the listing. Homes in that area are selling within 2 weeks. You could have cash in hand by March. I read the emails 3 times. Then I read them again. Then I ran to the bathroom and vomited. When I came back, I took screenshots. Every single one. Sent them to my own email, printed them out, put them in a folder. Then I kept digging. I found bank records. Owen had access to my checking account from when Harold died, and I'd added him as a cosigner in case of emergencies. In the last 6 months, there were 3 withdrawals I hadn't made. August 12th, $20,300, October 4th, $3,800, December 18th, $2,600, total $8,700. He'd been stealing from me. The hairline crack became a canyon. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the consultation in 6 weeks, about the angioplasty, about what would happen if something went wrong and I didn't wake up. I'd named Owen as my healthcare proxy. He was my emergency contact. He had keys to my house, access to my accounts, legal authority to make decisions if I couldn't. He'd been planning to sell my house without telling me. At 2 a.m., I got up and called my insurance company. The automated system answered, and I navigated through the menus until I got to a real person. Blue Cross Customer Service, this is Derek. How can I help you? I need to check on my policy, I said. Policy number 447829156. One moment, please. I heard typing, then silence, then more typing. Ma'am, I'm showing this policy was canceled on December 10th. What? Yes, ma'am. Cancellation request came through on December 9th. The policy terminated on the 10th. I didn't cancel it. The request came from a joint account holder. An Owen Morrison? My hands went numb. Ma'am, are you still there? How much would it cost to reinstate? Let me check. More typing. Because of the lapse, we'd need updated health information. With your pre-existing condition and the upcoming surgery, the new premium would be approximately $950 per month. $950. I had $500 in my checking account. And the surgery in February? Without active coverage, that would be out of pocket. Estimated cost for an angioplasty with stent placement is around $12,400. I hung up without saying goodbye. The canyon became an abyss. I didn't leave the house for 3 days. Not because I was hiding, because I was thinking, planning, trying to understand how I'd gotten here, to this place where my own son had canceled my health insurance 6 weeks before major surgery. The phone kept ringing. Owen, Madison, Vanessa, even Linda Morrison calling to check in with that sugary concern that felt more like surveillance. I didn't answer. I sat at my kitchen table with Harold's journal open, reading entries from years ago, looking for the moment when everything had started to go wrong. November 12, 2018. Owen asked to borrow $5,000 for a business opportunity. B gave it to him without question. I told her to at least get it in writing. She said, "He's our son, Harold. We don't need contracts." I didn't argue, but I'm worried she's teaching him that her love has no boundaries. And people without boundaries get walked on. Harold had known. Even then, he'd known. On the 4th day, I finally went outside. Not far, just to Harold's grave at Willow Creek Cemetery, 10 minutes from my house. I brought coffee in a thermos, the way I used to when we'd drive to the coast on Sunday mornings, back when his hands still worked and his words still came easy. The headstone was simple. Harold James Morrison, 1951-2021. Beloved husband and father. I'd picked it out alone. Owen had been too busy to come to the appointment. I sat on the cold ground next to the grave, not caring that the snow was soaking through my jeans. I don't know what to do, I said out loud. A woman walking her dog 50 yards away glanced over, then looked away quickly. Let her think I was crazy. Maybe I was. They want to take the house, Harold. Our house. The one you painted room by room every summer. The one where we brought Owen home from the hospital. They want to sell it and split the money, and they were going to put me in a home without even asking. The wind blew snow across the headstone. I brushed it off with my scarred hand. Owen canceled my insurance. The surgery's in 6 weeks, and I can't afford it now. $12,000. I have $500 in checking and maybe $8,000 in savings. That leaves me $4,000 short, and that's not counting rent or food or anything else. I took a sip of coffee. It had gone cold. I keep thinking about what you wrote. That I'm teaching him my love has no boundaries. You were right. I gave and gave and gave, and now I have nothing left. Not even dignity. A crow landed on the headstone. It cocked its head at me, then flew away. I don't want to give up on him, I whispered. He's our son, but I don't think he wants to be saved. I think Madison got to him first, and I lost. I stayed there for an hour, crying quietly, talking to a man who couldn't answer. When I finally stood up, my knees ached and my hands were numb from the cold, but something inside me had shifted. Not healed, just shifted. I drove home slowly, and when I pulled into my driveway, there was a car I didn't recognize parked on the street, a silver Lexus with Oregon plates. Vanessa's car was in my driveway. I almost kept driving, almost turned around and went to a hotel, anywhere that wasn't here. But this was my house, mine and Harold's, and I was tired of running. Vanessa was sitting on my porch steps, wearing a cream-colored coat that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. She stood when she saw me. "B, thank God. I've been calling you for days." "I know. Can we talk? Inside? It's freezing." I unlocked the door and let her in. Not because I wanted to, but because that's what you do. That's what polite people do, even when they're dying inside. Vanessa sat on my couch like she was perching on something fragile. She looked around the living room, at Harold's old recliner, at the bookshelf he'd built from scratch, at the wedding photos on the mantel. "You really should update this place," she said. "It still looks like 1985 in here." "That's when we moved in." "I know, but don't you want something more modern? More you?" This was me. This house, this life, this worn-out furniture that Harold had touched and Owen had grown up with. This was all me. "Why are you here, Vanessa?" She sighed, setting her purse on the coffee table. Expensive leather, probably designer. "I'm worried about you, B. We all are. Madison says you won't answer her calls. Owen says you kicked him out on Christmas, and now you're not answering anyone. Did Owen tell you why I kicked him out? He said you got upset over a joke Madison made. About your hands. A joke. B, honey, I know Madison can be tactless, but you're being really sensitive about this. She didn't mean any harm." I laughed. It came out bitter and sharp, nothing like the laugh I used to have. "Sensitive? That's interesting. Did Owen tell you they've been planning to sell my house? That they emailed a realtor 4 months ago?" Vanessa's face didn't change. "Well, I mean, B, you're 67. This house is too big for you. The stairs alone. Did you know?" "Know what? Did you know they were planning this?" She looked away, picked at a thread on her coat. "Madison mentioned they were concerned about you living alone. That maybe you'd be happier somewhere smaller, somewhere with staff who could help if something happened." "When did she mention this?" "I don't know. Thanksgiving, maybe. And you didn't tell me." "I didn't think, B, they're just trying to help. They love you." I stood up. "Get out." "What?" "Get out of my house, Vanessa. B, you're being irrational." "I'm being irrational? They've been stealing from me. Owen took $8,700 out of my bank account without asking. He canceled my health insurance 6 weeks before I'm supposed to have surgery." Madison laughed at the scars I got saving her daughter's life. "And you're sitting here telling me they love me?" Vanessa's face went pale. "Owen wouldn't." "I have the bank statements. I have the emails. I have proof of all of it." I walked to the door and opened it. "Now get out." She stood slowly, grabbing her purse. "You're making a mistake, B. Family is everything. You can't just cut people out over money. This isn't about money. This is about being treated like a human being. Now leave." She walked past me, stopped on the porch. "When you're ready to apologize, call me, but don't wait too long. Pride is a lonely thing to hold on to." I closed the door in her face. Then I locked it. That night, the doorbell rang at 11:30. I was in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the surgery and the money, and the fact that I was completely, utterly alone. I didn't answer. The doorbell rang again. Then someone knocked, hard. "Mom, I know you're in there. Open the door." Owen's voice. "Mom, please. We need to talk. This is getting out of control." I stayed in bed. "Mom, I'm not leaving until you open this door." I turned off my bedside lamp and lay there in the dark, listening to him knock, listening to him call my name. After 20 minutes, I heard his car start. Heard him drive away. I didn't cry. I was too empty for tears. The next morning, there was an envelope taped to my front door. No name, just an envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper. Proposed settlement agreement. Beatrice Morrison agrees to transfer power of attorney to Owen Morrison, effective immediately. Beatrice Morrison agrees to place her primary residence, 412 Maple Street, Willow Creek, OR, on the market within 30 days. Beatrice Morrison will receive $1,000 per month from the proceeds of the sale to cover living expenses, medical care, and assisted living placement. This agreement prevents the need for legal competency evaluation and guardianship proceedings. Agreement must be signed by January 8, 2025, 48 hours from receipt. Failure to sign will result in filing of emergency guardianship petition with Clackamas County Court. At the bottom, there were 2 signature lines, one for me, one for Owen. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the paper. 48 hours, 2 days to sign away my house, my autonomy, my entire life, or they'd go to court and try to have me declared incompetent. I read it again. Then I walked inside, sat at my kitchen table, and stared at that piece of paper for 3 hours. This was it, the choice. Give them everything and hope they'd take care of me, or fight back and risk losing it all anyway. I thought about Harold, about what he'd do. I thought about Emma, my granddaughter, growing up thinking this was normal, that you could treat people this way. I thought about myself, about the woman I'd been before Harold died, the one who'd raised a son and built a life and never asked for anything in return. That woman was gone, but maybe someone stronger could take her place. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I'd found online 2 days ago. It rang 3 times. Clackamas Legal Aid. This is Jennifer. Hello, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. My name is Beatrice Morrison, and I need help. My son is trying to steal my house. Jennifer from Legal Aid couldn't help me. Mrs. Morrison, I'm so sorry, she said over the phone, her voice genuinely apologetic. Our services are income restricted, and based on what you've told me about your savings and home equity, you're just over the threshold. But I can give you some referrals to private attorneys who specialize in elder abuse. She rattled off 3 names. I wrote them down on the back of the settlement agreement, my hand shaking. One more thing, Jennifer said. Don't sign anything under duress. That 48-hour deadline? That's a pressure tactic. In Oregon, there's no law requiring you to respond that quickly. If they file for emergency guardianship, you'll have the right to contest it in court. Document everything. Save every email, every text, every voicemail. And Mrs. Morrison? Yes? Fight back. What they're doing isn't just unethical, it's illegal. I hung up and stared at the 3 names she'd given me. The first attorney's consultation fee was $500. The second was $750. The third didn't list a price, which meant it was probably more. I had $543 in my checking account. I sat there at my kitchen table, feeling the walls close in. The surgery was 6 weeks away. The settlement deadline was 48 hours away, and I was drowning. Then I remembered something Harold used to say, when you don't know what to do, follow the money. I opened my laptop, the one Owen had left behind, and I started digging. First, I searched for Madison Carter's name plus fraud. Nothing came up. Then I tried her maiden name from the wedding invitation I'd saved, Madison Reeves. Still nothing. Then I remembered Philip. The way he'd gone pale at Christmas dinner. The way he'd looked at my scars and said, "It can't be." I searched. Philip Carter, plus Helen Carter, plus fire. The third result made my blood run cold. Oregon Live, October 15th, 1994. Local woman dies in house fire, daughter survives. I clicked. Helen Marie Carter, 34, died early Sunday morning when a fire broke out in her northeast Portland home. Her daughter, Madison, 6, was rescued by neighbors who heard her screaming from a second-floor window. Mrs. Carter's body was found in the hallway outside her daughter's bedroom. Investigators believe she died attempting to reach the child. Fire Marshal David Chen stated that the blaze originated in the kitchen and spread rapidly due to accelerants present at the scene. The investigation is ongoing. Madison Carter was treated for smoke inhalation and second-degree burns on her arms at Emmanuel Hospital. She is currently in the custody of her father, Philip Carter, 31. Philip Carter could not be reached for comment. I stared at the screen, my heart hammering. Burns on her arms, just like mine. Just like the scars Philip had recognized at Christmas dinner. But there was more. I clicked on another article from 3 weeks later. Oregon Live, November 4th, 1994. Arson suspected in fatal house fire. Fire investigators have ruled the October 15th blaze that killed Helen Carter as suspicious. Sources close to the investigation say accelerants were found in multiple locations throughout the home, and that the fire originated in more than one place simultaneously. The couple's 6-year-old daughter, Madison, remains in her father's custody. No arrests have been made. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Portland Fire Marshal's office. There were no more articles after that. No arrests. No resolution. I sat back, my mind racing. Madison had been 6 years old. A child. Whatever had happened that night, she couldn't have been responsible. But Philip had looked at my scars like he'd seen a ghost. I needed to talk to him. I found his number in Madison's contact list on Owen's laptop. I hesitated, finger hovering over the screen, then pressed dial. It rang 4 times. Then, "Hello, Mr. Carter? This is Beatrice Morrison, Owen's mother." Silence. "I'm sorry to call out of the blue, but I need to ask you something. About Christmas dinner. About what you said when you saw my hands." More silence. Then, quietly, "I was hoping you'd call. Can we meet? Not at your house. Madison has ways of finding things out. There's a coffee shop on Burnside, The Grind. Can you be there in an hour?" "Yes." "Come alone. And Mrs. Morrison, be careful. My daughter is not who you think she is." He hung up. I drove to Portland with my hands clenched on the steering wheel, my mind spinning through possibilities. None of them good. The Grind was a small place tucked between a bookstore and a laundromat, the kind of coffee shop with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Philip was already there, sitting in the back corner with 2 cups of coffee. He looked older than he had at Christmas, the lines around his eyes deeper, his shoulders slumped. I sat down across from him. "Thank you for coming," he said. "What did you see when you looked at my hands?" He wrapped both hands around his coffee cup, staring into it like he was reading tea leaves. "I saw my wife, Helen. She had scars just like yours, from pulling Madison out of a fire when she was 4. Kitchen fire. Madison had been playing with matches. She was 4. She was 4, he agreed. Kids do stupid things. Helen burned her hands getting Madison out, but everyone was okay. We thought it was a one-time thing, an accident, but it wasn't. No." He looked up at me, and his eyes were hollow. 2 years later, there was another fire. Middle of the night. Helen died trying to get to Madison's room. But the thing is, his voice cracked. Madison's door was locked from the outside. Helen couldn't get in. The fire started in 4 different places. The investigators said it was arson, but they couldn't prove anything. Madison was 6. Who arrests a 6-year-old? My mouth went dry. "You think Madison—" "I don't think. I know." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This is from Madison's psychiatric evaluation. After the fire. I had to fight to get a copy, but I kept it. 20 years later, when she turned 18, all the sealed records were supposed to be destroyed. This is the only copy left." He slid it across the table. I unfolded it with shaking hands. Patient, Madison R. Carter, age 6. Diagnosis, conduct disorder with callous unemotional traits. Possible early-onset antisocial personality disorder. Notes, patient shows no remorse for actions leading to mother's death. When asked about the fire, patient stated, "Mommy was going to send me away." Patient demonstrates manipulative behavior, superficial charm, and calculated deception. Recommend long-term therapeutic intervention and monitoring. Risk assessment. High risk for future harmful behavior if left untreated. I read it 3 times. Then I looked at Philip. Did she get treatment? For 3 years. Then she told the therapist exactly what he wanted to hear. That she was sorry. That she understood what happened. That she wanted to be better. She was 9 years old and she fooled a PhD psychologist. They released her from therapy, and for years she was perfect. Model student, popular, charming. I thought maybe they'd been wrong. Maybe she'd grown out of it. But she didn't. When she was 16, our dog died. The vet said it was antifreeze poisoning. I found the bottle in Madison's closet, hidden in a shoebox. When I confronted her, she cried and said she was trying to help him, that he was old and suffering. She was so convincing, I almost believed her. He took a shaky breath. At 19, she stole her roommate's identity, opened 4 credit cards, ran up $67,000 in debt. The roommate's parents were going to press charges, but I paid them off. Told Madison if she ever did anything like that again, I was done. She promised she wouldn't. But she did. She married your son when she was 30. Sweet, charming Madison who loved kids and wanted a family. 6 months after Emma was born, I got a call from a hospital in Salem. Madison had brought Emma in for the 4th time that year. Seizures, she said. Mysterious illnesses. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong. Then one nurse noticed the pattern. Every time Emma went to the hospital, there was a GoFundMe. Every time Madison posted about Emma's struggles online, donations poured in. $54,000 over 2 years. My stomach turned. She was making Emma sick. Not physically, but she was lying about it. Munchausen by proxy, they call it. The financial kind. I confronted her. She denied everything. I went to Owen, showed him the evidence. He didn't believe me, called me a bitter old man trying to ruin his marriage, so I left. I haven't spoken to Madison in 9 years, not until Christmas when you invited me. Why did you come? Because Owen called me 3 weeks before Christmas, said Madison wanted to reconcile, that she'd changed, that she wanted Emma to know her grandfather. I was stupid enough to hope he was right. He looked at my hands again. Then I saw your scars. Saw Madison sitting there laughing at them, and I knew. She hadn't changed at all. She found another mark. You. I felt dizzy. Why are you telling me this now? Because you called. Because you're in danger. Because in 9 years, you're the first person who's asked questions instead of believing her lies. He pushed the psychiatric evaluation toward me. Take this. Make copies. If they try to have you declared incompetent, you'll need it. Show them who Madison really is. Will you testify? His face crumpled. She's still my daughter. She's trying to steal my house. She canceled my health insurance. She's poisoning my son against me. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I can't. I can't send my own child to jail, even after everything she's done. He stood up, leaving his coffee untouched. But I can give you this. He pulled a business card from his wallet. Catherine Reeves. She's a private investigator. Former detective. She's discreet and she's good. Tell her I sent you. She'll help. Then he walked out, and I sat there holding a psychiatric report from 1994 and a business card, understanding for the first time exactly what I was up against. I called Catherine Reeves from my car. This is Catherine. My name is Beatrice Morrison. Philip Carter gave me your number. Philip. Her voice softened. How is he? Scared. His daughter is trying to steal my house. Madison. Not a question. Tell me everything. I did. The emails, the stolen money, the canceled insurance, the settlement agreement, all of it. When I finished, Catherine was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Morrison, I'm going to be straight with you. What you're describing is textbook financial exploitation. The good news is it's prosecutable. The bad news is Madison's good at this. She's had years of practice. If we're going to stop her, we need evidence. Real, documented, irrefutable evidence. I have the emails. That's a start. But we need more. I need to dig into her background, her finances, her history, and I need to do it fast. How long until your deadline? I looked at my watch. 36 hours. Then we work fast. My retainer is $3,000. Can you manage that? I thought about my savings. $8,000. Surgery money, survival money. Yes, good. Wire the money to the account I'm about to text you. Then go home, lock your doors, and don't sign anything. I'll call you in 12 hours. She hung up. I transferred the money from my car, watching my savings account drop from $8,000 to $5,000. And I felt something shift inside me. Not fear anymore. Anger. Cold, calculated, clarifying anger. Madison thought I was weak, thought I was an easy mark, just another victim in her long line of people she'd used and discarded. She was about to learn differently. Catherine Reeves called me at 2 a.m. "Mrs. Morrison, you need to see this. I'm sending files to your email now. Open them." I stumbled out of bed, grabbed my laptop, and opened my email with shaking hands. There were 7 attachments: PDFs, bank statements, screenshots. I clicked the first one. GoFundMe campaign. Help Emma fight her mystery illness. Created by Madison Carter Morrison, March 2022. Goal, $25,000. Raised $31,847. The page had photos of Emma looking pale and thin, hooked up to hospital monitors. Madison's description was heartbreaking. "My precious daughter has been in and out of hospitals for months. The doctors can't figure out what's wrong. Every test comes back normal, but she keeps having seizures, fainting spells, terrible pain. We've exhausted our savings and our insurance. Please help us save our baby girl." I opened the second file. Emma's actual medical records, somehow obtained by Catherine. Patient: Emma Morrison, age 5. Presenting complaint: mother reports seizures, fainting physical examination, normal EEG, normal MRI, normal blood work, normal assessment, no organic cause found for reported symptoms. Mother's descriptions inconsistent with observable presentation. Child appears healthy, playful, and age-appropriate when mother not present. Recommend social services consultation. The third file showed a different GoFundMe from 2023. Emma's battle continues. Help us fight. Another $22,931 raised. The fourth file was a spreadsheet Catherine had created. Madison's total fundraising across 4 different campaigns, $54,778. Expenses actually related to Emma's medical care, $0. All of it had gone into Madison and Owen's personal accounts. The fifth file made my hands shake so hard I almost dropped the laptop. It was a police report from Salem, Oregon, dated September 2023. A nurse at Salem Hospital had filed a mandatory report with Child Protective Services after Emma's 7th visit that year. The investigation had been opened, then closed 3 weeks later due to insufficient evidence of medical child abuse. But there were notes from the investigating officer. Mother became hostile when questioned. Father defensive and protective of mother. Child showed no signs of physical abuse but appeared anxious around mother. Recommend ongoing monitoring. Nothing had been monitored. Madison had simply stopped taking Emma to that hospital and started using a different one. The sixth file was a bank statement from December 18, 2024, the same day Owen had withdrawn $2,600 from my account. The statement showed that exact amount deposited into Owen and Madison's joint checking account with the memo, "From Mom, Christmas." He'd stolen from me and labeled it as a gift. The seventh file was the one that broke me. It was an email from Madison to Owen, sent at 11:47 p.m. on Christmas night, right after she'd left my house, from Madison Carter Morrison to Owen Morrison. Subject, new plan. December 25th, 2024, 11:47 p.m. Oh, my dad completely fucked everything tonight. He saw B's scars and freaked out. Started lecturing me in the driveway about Helen and the fire. I think he told B something. We need to move faster. The settlement agreement isn't going to work. She's not going to sign. I can tell. She's getting suspicious. We need to file for emergency guardianship now, tomorrow, before she lawyers up. Use the mental incompetence angle, the scene she caused at Christmas, the way she's been forgetting things, her erratic behavior. We have enough witnesses. Your mom, Linda, the neighbors we talked to. Once you have guardianship, you have full control. The house, the accounts, everything. We can have her in a facility by February and the house on the market by March. This works better anyway. Cleaner, faster, and she can't fight back once it's done. The old bitch should have signed when she had the chance. Now we do this the hard way. Love you. We're so close. Just a few more weeks, and we're free. I read it 5 times. Then I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, my phone was ringing. Catherine, you saw the emails, she said. Yes, I have more. Text messages between Madison and your sister Vanessa going back 6 months. Vanessa's been feeding Madison information about you. Your medical appointments, your finances, your daily routines. They've been planning this since June. Vanessa, my own sister. There's something else, Catherine continued. I pulled Madison's employment records. She hasn't had a real job in 4 years. The marketing consultant position she tells everyone about doesn't exist. Her only income is from Owen's salary and from online fundraising scams. She's run at least 9 different campaigns in 5 years, all using sick relatives or personal tragedies as the hook. Total amount raised, over $200,000. How is she not in jail? Because she's smart. She never uses the same platform twice. She deletes campaigns after they're funded. She moves money through multiple accounts. And most importantly, her victims don't report her because they're either dead, discredited, or family members too ashamed to admit they were conned. What do? You fight back. Hard. I've compiled everything into a report. 63 pages of evidence showing financial fraud, identity theft, medical child abuse, and elder exploitation. I'm sending it to you now, along with the name of a lawyer who specializes in this kind of case. Her name is Beatrice Ruiz. She's expensive, but she's the best. Call her first thing in the morning. The settlement deadline is in 10 hours. Don't sign it. Let them file for guardianship. Let them bring this to court. Because Mrs. Morrison, when they do, we're going to bury them. I called Beatrice Ruiz at 8 a.m. By 8:45, I was sitting in her downtown office, a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows and the kind of furniture that cost more than my car. Patricia was 50-something, sharp-eyed, with perfect posture and a handshake like a vice grip. Catherine sent me her report, she said, gesturing to a thick folder on her desk. I've reviewed it. Mrs. Morrison, what your son and daughter-in-law are doing isn't just unethical. It's criminal. Multiple felonies. I can stop the guardianship petition, but more than that, I can have them prosecuted. How much will this cost? My retainer is $15,000. Total cost will depend on how hard they fight, but you should budget for $25,000 to $30,000 if it goes to trial. I had $5,000 left, and surgery in 5 weeks. Patricia must have seen something in my face because her expression softened slightly. Mrs. Morrison, I know that's a lot, but here's the thing. We can recover those costs from them. When we prove financial exploitation, the court can order them to pay your legal fees, plus restitution for everything they've stolen. You'll get your money back. And if we lose, we won't. The evidence is overwhelming. I thought about Harold, about the house we'd built together, about Emma growing up thinking this was normal. I'll do it, I said. But I need to ask, can I pay in installments? Tell you what, give me what you have now. We'll file a motion to freeze their assets immediately, which means they can't sell your house or touch any accounts. Then we'll work out the rest as we go. Deal? I transferred $4,000, leaving me with $1,000 to my name. One more thing, Patricia said as I stood to leave. Don't have any contact with Owen or Madison. No calls, no texts, no meetings. If they show up at your house, call the police. Everything they say or do from now on can be used in court, and we want them to incriminate themselves as much as possible. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Now go home and rest. This is going to be a war, Mrs. Morrison, but I promise you, we're going to win. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. It lasted exactly 4 hours. At 2:30 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Owen standing on my porch holding a folder. His car was in my driveway, and behind him, in the passenger seat, I could see Madison watching the house. I didn't open the door. Mom, I know you're in there, Owen called. The deadline was an hour ago. You didn't sign the settlement. We're filing the guardianship petition this afternoon. I stayed silent. Mom, please, this doesn't have to be ugly. Just open the door and let's talk like adults. Like adults. As if he hadn't stolen from me. as if Madison hadn't called me the old bitch in an email. Mom, if you don't open this door, you're going to lose everything. The court will give me full control. You'll have no say in where you live or how your money is spent. Is that what you want? I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Beatrice Morrison. My son is at my front door refusing to leave. I've asked him to go, but he won't. I need an officer here, please. Owen's face went pale. I could see him through the peephole, staring at the door like he couldn't believe what he'd just heard. Mom, what are you doing? 412 Maple Street in Willow Creek, I said to the dispatcher. Please hurry. Owen stepped back from the door. You called the cops? On your own son? The officer is on the way, the dispatcher said. Stay on the line with me until they arrive. Owen ran back to his car. He and Madison were gone before the police cruiser turned onto my street. The officer who responded was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes. Officer Chen, his badge said. Ma'am, are you all right? I'm fine. My son was here trying to force me to sign legal documents. He's been stealing from me. Do you want to file a report? Yes, I do. Officer Chen came inside and took my statement for 45 minutes. I showed him Catherine's report, the emails, the bank statements, all of it. He photographed everything with his phone. Ma'am, this is elder abuse, financial exploitation. You need to contact Adult Protective Services. I have a lawyer. We're handling it. He nodded, finishing his notes. I'm going to write up this report. If he comes back, call us immediately. And, Mrs. Morrison, document everything. You're doing the right thing. After he left, I sat on my couch and cried. Not from sadness, from exhaustion, from the sheer weight of having to fight my own child. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You're making a huge mistake. Last chance to settle this quietly. After today, there's no going back. I blocked the number. Then my phone rang. Owen. I let it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, a new voicemail appeared. I played it on speaker. Mom. Owen's voice was shaking, crying. Mom, please pick up. Madison showed me. She showed me everything. The report from when she was 6, the hospital records about Emma, the fundraising. I didn't know, Mom. I swear to God, I didn't know what she was doing. She told me the GoFundMes were real, that Emma was really sick, she said. She said you were trying to come between us, that you were jealous. I believed her. He was sobbing now, full, gasping sobs. I was so stupid, so blind. She's been using me this whole time, and I let her turn me against you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, Mom. Please call me back. I'll testify against her. I'll tell them everything. Just please don't hate me. The voicemail ended. I sat there staring at my phone, listening to my son's voice break, and I felt something crack open inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe, eventually, a door. I called Owen back 3 days later. Not because I'd forgiven him, because Patricia Ruiz told me his testimony would be crucial, and because somewhere underneath all the anger and betrayal, he was still the little boy who used to fall asleep on my lap during thunderstorms. We met at a neutral location, a park bench near the river. He looked terrible. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't slept since Christmas. When he saw me, he started crying before I even sat down. Mom, I'm so sorry. Stop, I said quietly. I need you to listen. Can you do that? He nodded, wiping his face with his sleeve. You hurt me, Owen. You stole from me. You canceled my health insurance before major surgery. You let your wife call me an old bitch and you did nothing. You were going to sell my house and put me in a facility against my will. I know. Madison told me you were getting confused, that you were becoming paranoid. She showed me fake text messages, made-up conversations. She said you wanted to cut me out of your will, that you were planning to leave everything to charity. I believed her because it was easier than believing I'd married someone evil. Did you know about the GoFundMes? No, I swear. She told me Emma's medical bills were astronomical, that insurance wouldn't cover it. I never saw the hospital records. She handled all of that. He looked at his hands. I've filed for divorce, moved into a hotel. Emma's with me. I have temporary custody while CPS investigates Madison. Good. Madison was arrested yesterday. Wire fraud, identity theft, child endangerment. Her bail was set at $50,000. I didn't post it. His voice cracked. I should have seen it. All the signs were there. The way she talked about people. How she never had real friends. How everything was always someone else's fault. But I was in so deep, I couldn't see the pattern. I sat there looking at my son, at this broken man who'd almost destroyed me. And I realized something. Madison hadn't just manipulated Owen. She'd studied him, found every weakness, every insecurity, and exploited them systematically for years. That didn't excuse what he'd done, but it helped me understand it. Patricia says you want to testify, I said. I'll testify to everything. The emails, the planning, the money, all of it. And Mom, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a check. This is $32,000. I sold my car, cleaned out my 401k, borrowed from friends. It's not everything I took, but it's a start. I'm getting a second job. I'll pay back every cent. I took the check, hands trembling. It was made out to me, signed in his messy handwriting. It'll take years, he said. But I'll do it. However long it takes. What about Emma? I want you in her life if you'll allow it. She asks about you. Madison told her you were sick and couldn't visit anymore. When I told Emma the truth, that I'd been keeping her away from you, she cried. His voice broke again. She misses you. I thought about my granddaughter, about the toys I'd saved from the fire, about the scars on my hands that had started all of this. Bring her by on Sunday, I said. We'll make cookies. Owen's face crumpled. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not done being angry, Owen. Trust isn't something you can rebuild in a week or a month. Maybe not even in a year. But you're my son. And Emma's my granddaughter. And I won't let Madison take that away from us. Understand? Yes, I understand. The trial took 4 months. Madison's lawyer tried everything. Claimed she was a victim of postpartum psychosis. Blamed childhood trauma from her mother's death. Painted me as a vindictive old woman seeking revenge. But Patricia Ruiz was a sledgehammer in a designer suit. She presented the emails, the bank records, the medical files showing Emma had never been sick. She called Philip to the stand. He testified reluctantly, voice shaking, but he testified. He told the jury about Helen's death, about Madison's psychiatric history, about the pattern of behavior that had lasted 30 years. Catherine Reeves testified about the 9 separate fundraising scams, complete with screenshots, transaction records, and testimony from other victims Madison had conned. Owen testified last. He told the jury everything. How Madison had manipulated him, isolated him from his family, convinced him I was the enemy. How she'd orchestrated the entire plot to steal my house. How she'd stolen from me while labeling it as gifts. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Madison was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, plus 3 years probation. Restitution ordered, $76,700 to various victims, including $8,700 to me for the stolen funds. The judge also ordered her to pay my legal fees, $28,400. She showed no emotion when the verdict was read. Just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, exactly like the 6-year-old girl in that psychiatric report who'd shown no remorse for her mother's death. As they led her out in handcuffs, she looked at me once. Her eyes were cold, empty, reptilian. I looked back and felt nothing but pity. After everything was settled, I made changes. I sold the house on Maple Street. Not because Madison wanted me to, but because it was time. Too many ghosts. Too many rooms I didn't need. I bought a small cottage 20 minutes away, near the lake, with a garden and enough space for Emma to visit. The surgery happened in March. Owen drove me to the hospital, stayed with me for 3 days after, slept on my couch until I could manage stairs. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Small acts of care were their own language. Emma comes over every Sunday now. We bake together, her small hands covered in flour, my scarred hands steady on the rolling pin. Last week, she traced the burns on my wrists and asked what happened. I got these saving your toys from a fire, I told her. She looked at me with huge, serious eyes. Grandma, your hands are beautiful. And for the first time in a year, I believed her. Vanessa sent a letter 6 months after the trial, a long apology, explaining how Madison had befriended her, played on her jealousy, convinced her she was helping. I read it once and threw it away. Some bridges once burned, stay burned. Owen and I have dinner every Wednesday now. Sometimes we talk about the past. Most times we don't. He's working 2 jobs, paying me back in small increments. He's in therapy. He's trying. That's all I can ask for. Madison was released early on probation last month. She moved to California. Owen has a restraining order. So do I. I don't think about her much anymore. Late at night, I sit on my cottage porch with tea and watch the lake. I think about Harold, about what he wrote in his journal, about boundaries and love and the difference between the two. I think about the scars on my hands, the ones that Philip recognized, the ones that changed everything. These scars saved me, not once, but twice. They saved Emma's toys from burning, and they saved me from a different kind of fire, the kind that consumes you slowly from the inside until there's nothing left. I'm 73 now. I have a small house, a small life, a granddaughter who loves me, and a son who's learning what it means to be a man. It's enough.